usually take people hours or like days to create just one journey for one goal, right? Right now, it can be done by 5 minutes. That's the power of the generative AI because you can transform the content or the creative.
So it's really bringing that together with, again, the hybrid approach of predictive and generative, so open and closed AI. What about the impact on the user experience?
And then for me, one of the reasons I choose to become an engineer or scientist is like, I don't want to do repeatable thing. I don't want to like build a model for each vertical. I just want to build one multi-modality to solve all the problems. So that's my dream, and then that's what excites me.
So it is full funnel, and that is quite different in the industry because we're looking at going from user segmentation, optimization, user prediction, but you're also using predictive AI. It's used normally to understand user preferences and behavior. And then you have generative AI, which is part of Appier, right? It's also part of creating content at scale. So help me understand how these work together, but how they lead to better business outcomes because you have more is better, perhaps.
Using the predictive AI and then the data, you are able to get like a more clear view of your user. So usually you will say, oh, through his or her browsing history, the search keyword, or the social media information, then you got like a more clear view about your user. And then you decide like based on what you know about the user, you decide like when and what kind of like advertising you want to put into the user. And then you hope like the user will love the advertising, will engage with the advertising, and then the advertising really represent like what exactly they need. And then you get the performance from the advertising, right? So, but there's a missing pieces here, which is the creative or the content. Because right now, creative and the content are basically built by the human. Let's say it's like today, if I'm a brand, my product is are shoes, right? And then I basically have to hire, for example, a photographer and then hire the model to have like a multiple image or like the multiple video to demonstrate my shoes, right? And then when we are doing the marketing or advertising, then we decide like who and when to show those content. But you only have a limited content because you can only produce the limited content. But imagine a world with the generative AI. And then what we can do is like you still want to promote your shoe. But at this moment, if I know, for example, Robert really like the outdoor, right? And then my preference is like the blue color of the shoe. And then I really want to have the blue color of the shoe in a sunny day outside. Based on my understanding, the advertising I promote to Robert, either the image or video, can create based on my preference. So you can have thousands or even like tens of thousands of different scenarios, all create based on all the different users. But now you can based on the user preference, which you know there's a multiple dimension of the combination. Then you can create even the content is just for the user. It's not for this kind of user. It's just for one single user. That's the power of the generative AI because you can transform the content or the creative to be also like powered by the personalization algorithm. Instead of in the past, the personalization is really like when or who to push the content. But now even the content can be personalized. So that's the power of the generative AI because you literally like basically like get the ability for the machine to create a content based on the need. I think the important thing is like how to basically streamline or combine the predictive AI and then generative AI. And then that's where you can really bring the benefit to your like customer. So let me explain a little bit about like how to combine the decisive AI and then the predictive AI and then the generative AI. So you first use the predictive AI to really understand your user, right? And then when you understand user, you basically will build something like a profile to illuminating, like illustrating like what that user preference and what he or she likes, right? And then what he and she like, those information will become the input for the generative AI to create the right content for the user, right? And then the next step is like when you create the right content, and then you try to basically like show those content to the user, and then be able to see like what's their engagement for those content. So the full cycle will be predictive AI provides you the information, and then the information will fuel the generative AI to create the right content, and then the right content exported to a user, and then on the online situation or even offline situation, you collect the from the user engagement with the content, and then that feed back to the predictive AI again, and then become a full funnel. And then that full funnel will basically like make your advertising more successful, and then you bring like more sales to the advertiser. So that's the whole like a full funnel, and also like how to basically leverage both predictive AI and then like a generative AI to basically build the flywheel of the new generation of the advertising.
So that's a exciting model because it is a growth flywheel powered by AI technologies. There are more approaches. There's the predictive, the generative, and then Appier bringing these together. As you said yourself, this is about being more innovative in how you can create and optimize content for audiences. I'd love to hear about an example of something that has really been stand out, either with what you're doing with a customer or something you've seen perhaps a brand.
Right now, we are doing like the generative AI creative with one of like a very big like EC like a retailer in Asia. And then what we do is like instead of the image, we basically trying to use a generative AI to highlight the product itself, right? And then on the ad copy, which is a description in the advertising, we use a generative AI to generate like a multiple different kind of like the description of the product. And then when we do the online test, we found like with the iteration and then with the predictive AI plus the generative AI, and then we are able to lift like the click-through rate, the user click-through rate by about like 50 to 60%. And then they basically will bring like a 30% plus like a ROI for the customer. So that's a very strong example telling like when you are able to basically like personalize your content with the predictive AI, and then you are able to show like a very significant improve of your advertising efficiency.
Help me understand a little bit more about how you're able to adapt that to ensure that what you're showing, what you're sharing matches the audience.
So the clear explain is saying like today, if I'm like a EC or retailer, I have a new product on the market, which means like this new product, I have no idea how the audience will accept it or will love the product or not, right? So what I will do is like for this new product, I first like basically just put that new product and then create like many different kind of the content, and then just randomly send to like the general audience, right? And then when I send to that general audience, that's called export, because I don't know this is a new product. I don't know who will love the product. So I basically just say, okay, for this content, we will send to like the general audience. And then when we send to the general audience, then we will see like, okay, how the audience interact with that new content or new product. Then we will learn like, oh, for this audience, for example, this product, like the female audience have the more engagement with the content. And then their age group is between like 20 years old to 28 years old. And then when they interact with the content, they especially like the content to be on like the CT scenario, like a CT live scenario, right? We start to learn like, okay, those are the critical reason like the content get the better performance. And then our model, either the predictive AI model or generative AI model, will start to say, oh, I will start to target those audience. And then when I was generating the content, I will focus on generating that kind of content. For example, it's like when, let's say it's like when it goes to the winter, probably we start to see like the female user actually like the indoor scenario more than the city like a view scenario. And then our model will start to learn that because, as I said, we have some small percent of the traffic go to the randomized. And then we learn like actually now the users start to love the indoor like a scene more than the city live scene more. Then we learn that and then we basically like update our messaging. Okay. So it's a dynamic one and then it's a real life one. So that's how like this like a proprietary technology put the Appier like to have like the better performance compared to the other providers.
So congratulations, Robert. One thing you did is you solved the cold start problem because it doesn't bother me that I don't have data about my audience because that hybrid model will learn. It will figure out what are the most effective creatives and learn from that. What are some of the most exciting applications that you're seeing in digital marketing that Appier is perhaps also currently exploring itself?
There's another thing behind the scene which also excites me is because we know a lot of time when you running your marketing or advertising, you need to understand if it's efficient. Like in the past, the data you got is a massive amount of data, and then you need like a data analyst or business analyst to write a SQL query, to write the right SQL query to get the insightful data. And then you based on that data, you make the decision for your next like a campaign, right? But now the interesting is we are able to also use the generative AI. Basically, we can just tell the generative AI, say, oh, I actually want to know from the last campaign, which segment do well, which segment didn't do well. And then the very powerful thing is like generative AI will translate the human language to the SQL query and then query the database and then summarize the result from the database and then give you the insight. That is also very exciting because a lot of time for like the business leader, sometimes it takes them a very heavy communication with the DA for the data analyst to understand what exactly they want to look at. But now the business leader, even they know nothing about the data analyst, they can use the natural language and then to pull the data and then figure out if that data really fit their fit the right information for them to make the strategy for the next round, right? That's also another very exciting thing, which is to be able to analyze the data and then summarize the data and then provide the people input for their next action. If your goal is to retain your existing customer, you want to make sure it's like you are able to reach every one of them in a regular basis, right? So that's how you need to have a journey to basically come out with your marketing plan. If you're say like right now, this marketer goal is to retain all the customer, right? So then you need to basically pull the data and then systematically trying to make the decision. If I cannot reach those people, which channel can reach those people? And then I use that channel. And then that's how you construct like a very complicated of the journey. That takes a lot of time. But now it's a generative AI because as I mentioned, generative AI have a couple of things. The first thing is it can summarize the data. Second thing, it can create the content. And then basically journey is one of the content. So think about this way. With all your user data, right? And then with all the channel you are able to use, now generative AI can read the data and then figure out to summarize okay, this kind of what the user flow will look like. And then basically on the other side, generative AI input also has all the marketing channel you can use. Then they combine both. They can generate the journey automatically, right? And then that will save a marketer a lot of time because for the marketer, if they have to basically query the data, make the decision, and query the data, make decision, and then in the end found oh, there's still 10% of users still left over from this journey, they probably have to redo again. But now with the generative AI, they can optimize based on the data, optimize the journey, and then give you a proposal. Typically, a marketer spend days to create one a journey to fit one goal. But now with the generative AI, you can have the first proposal of the journey in minutes, right? And then you make some change, and then you can have a multiple different proposal in the place to test it, and then that's can improve the the productivity of the marketers.
So obviously, if I can just tell generative AI what I want, it's really a benefit. For one, I can do things better. Two, I can do them faster. And I have more different types of journeys for different types of customers. I don't just have the creative, I have the channel and it's making suggestions. So there's a lot coming together that can make a full funnel marketing approach or campaign much, much more successful. Can't ask you the exact numbers, Robert, but what is the range? I mean, how much more successful or how much performance can I expect?
In terms of I can tell you like on the advertising domain, right? What we can see is like we are able to live about like a 30-40% of the ROI at this current stage. Even we say we are still learning like every single day, right? And then for the improve the human productivity, as I mentioned, like take the journey as an example. It usually take people hours or like days to create just one journey for one goal, right? Right now, it can be done by 5 minutes. So you can imagine like how much productivity you can save from that. If our advertiser is the game developer and then they have a new app launch and then they want like more people to download the app and then play the game, right? How do we make sure like we do the advertising efficiently is like, for example, like we still can use the contextual information to understand like, for example, like the people who like to download this game or play this game, typically they also like to play the other kind of the game or even use like the other different kind of application, right? So that's when we are able to see the user like using those application or playing this kind of game, then we know like they are the better audience for this advertiser or for this game studio, right? That's where you use the data, use the contextual information, and then you use the predictive AI to basically like be able to find the best audience to put your ads on top of like in front of their audience, right? And then with generative AI, for example, utility app, you want to make sure it's like it emphasizes on fun part of the game, right? Because like for this utility app, when people are using that, they are doing some work, right? And then you want to make sure it's like, oh, it's time to take a break. And then you want to emphasize on this, like the fun part of this game. But if I want to show this advertising in the other game, then I want to show like, okay, how intense this game can be, because the people already play the other game, right? And then they see the advertising. They want like, oh, this advertising, this game may be more interesting because it looks like a more vivid or like a more intense, like a game planning on that. So even for the content, it will depending on like which environment, basic contextual environment you show, and then you decide like which kind of content you want to generate, and then you want to put in front of the audience. So that's another example, like how do you use the generative AI and then use the contextual information and then use the user information. Even we don't reveal like your identity, but we still are able to do the better targeting and then use like a more attractive like a content in front of the right audience.
What difference or how important is leveraging real-time and contextual data here? Is it at the core of improving marketing strategies?
No matter it's the AI or generative AI or predictive AI, real-time data is super important. For any kind of advertising, if you can get the signal as close as possible, for example, like if I know I just watch for example, like a strategy game, like a video, like 5 minutes ago. If I know this person, like for example, if Robert like just like watch a video, like the strategy game video right now, and then 5 minutes after all, I actually try to show him advertising of another strategy game. Very likely, I would download because I just watch another like a strategy game video, which means like, oh, at this moment, I probably think about the strategy game. And then if there's a very fun, interesting, like a strategy game, like advertising right in front of me, the chance I will download or install is much, much higher, right? So that requires a lot of engineering or a lot of real-time data for you to be able to catch those signals and then be able to interact with the user very quickly, right? So that's how important the real-time data and then the very strong engineering will be able to bring the AI to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense because what I see at the moment is sort of top of mind with me. And if I see it later or in a different context, it might not be as relevant. So it's really bringing that together with, again, the hybrid approach of predictive and generative. So open and closed AI. What about the impact on the user experience? We've been talking about the impact on the marketer, on the full
Mm,
funnel marketing
mm,
results, the
mm.
user experience. What insights do you have into that?
Yeah, I want to bring up one very interesting fact for a person
Okay.
like me working on the advertising domain for 10 years. I
Mm-hmm.
usually see a lot of developer or a lot of people when they think about the advertising domain, they say, oh, advertising is so annoying. And then I don't want to working on either the marketing industry
Yeah.
or advertising industry, right? I usually try to convince them and say the best advertising is the recommendation you see on YouTube or Netflix, right? Because you don't feel the YouTube or a Netflix recommendation is annoying. You feel like it's helpful. And then at a certain point, you don't really do a lot of search on YouTube or Netflix. You highly rely on the recommendation to tell you or to provide you what's the next clip I want to see or a next movie I want to see, right? So the best advertising should be that way, which means you should really understand what the end user is looking for, and then also try to match the best advertiser with that, right? In the past, the reason it's not happening is because the entry point for the machine learning AI or right now for generative AI is not mature enough for all the adtech provider to leverage that. So you will feel you see a lot of annoying advertising. But I think with the much stronger performance coming from the predictive AI and the generative AI, then you can think about the experience I just described is actually very similar to the recommendation. It shows the right content to the right person, and then the content is personalized to you. So you will feel oh yeah, maybe I should consider that, or yes, that's something I really like, right? Then the whole advertising business, experience becomes similar to the recommendation you see on Amazon, YouTube, or Netflix. That's the optimal goal. As the advertising, as a person working on the advertising industry, really want to bring to the user, because when user really like your content, actually you will get the best performance for the advertiser. It should be a win-win situation. It should not be okay, only the advertiser is getting the benefit. You should really try to think about you should provide the best experience, personalized experience to the user, and then user love your advertising. Then actually that's the time the advertiser will get the best benefit from that.
Absolutely. And when it's also dynamic, it's constantly changing so that that good impact that happens when I'm getting a good recommendation, that continues and it gets deeper and probably stronger over time. What would you say if you had the opportunity to speak to marketers right now who are on the fence and saying, oh, I
Hmm.
don't quite understand where AI delivers
Uh,
value here?
uh, 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 yeah, I think there's one thing I really want to share.
Okay.
I think when probably 10 years ago, I first time as a engineer to work with the marketer. And then there's one of my mentor who is a marketer, who is a very senior marketer. He told me when he started working on the marketing industry, 1990, and then his mentor basically tells marketing or advertising is all about arts, and then that's how the best advertising is. So you can see on 1990s people put a lot of effort trying to create very unique content, either on the TV or on the magazine, and then that's all about because you have a very limited like ability to target the right audience. The only thing you can do is like put the content into somehow the similar channel, like or car in the sport channel, or like the fashion in like a beauty magazine or something. That's the only way you can do the audience. So the content itself is very, very important. But when the digital marketing arises, and then that's when like my mentor tell me is like, but nowadays the marketing is 50% of the science and the 50% of the arts, right? Because you need to use the data and then use the online channel to do the right targeting. And then that's about the science, right? And then the other is like, you still want to have the creative, like, or the content itself. I think moving forward, the marketer, the most important thing of a marketer is the creativity. Because like even the art, you can leverage the machine to do a lot of that. Now you need to make the decision. You need to make the strategy. You need to be creative, right? So really like you should spend the time on the strategy, on the creativity side, right? You should basically like leverage the machine to help you to basically build the user profile or understand the user, and then also build like all the content template or content itself. And then you focus on the creativity and then focus on the strategy, and then leverage those tools to basically make those like a personalized experience. Because if you don't do that, and then some other like a marketer adopt that, they will have a way higher like a productivity and then also the ROI than you.
The marketer is enabled and enhanced by AI,
Mm.
but it's also a learning process. You know, the marketer is learning from AI. I think the AI is also learning from the marketer.
Because we talk about the flywheel, right? And then when we talk about the flywheel between the predictive AI and then the generative AI, right? And then I actually think like the full cycle of flywheel is with like involvement of the human, because we talk about like a human have the strategy and the creativity, right? And then after the result, they basically put that creativity and the strategy into the like a predictive AI. Because even for predictive AI, you want to predict something, and then there's something you need to define, like what kind of thing. For example, even we say the seasonality is very important, then you definitely want to predict like what season like the user like. Then you basically put the input into the predictive AI, and then predictive AI fill the generative AI with the input for them to generate the right result, and then the right content will basically have the engagement data and the feedback to the human to make another round of the decision. And then the new decision coming with like some insight and then fill into the predictive AI. They create a flywheel between the predictive AI, generative AI, and the human. And then that's actually the optimal thing I'm looking for. Then these three agents basically work together and then create that flywheel and then keep moving forward to basically like a consistent, like improve the performance.
Of course, Appier's been there longer than most. And what you're discussing here in this model, this flywheel of growth, that's a very exciting dynamic. That's also something that you uniquely can power because you have generative AI, you have predictive AI, your proprietary machine learning algorithms. What would you like to see this all come together and enable, say, for example, in a year from now, if you want to think about the greatest innovation or the greatest improvement in marketing, what might that be? What would that look like?
As an engineer or as a scientist, we have a much mature technology to be able to apply predictive AI and generative AI into all the different vertical. When I say the vertical, it's like a different industry, because right now we still need to put a lot of like insight or information. Like for example, it's like when we are running the EC vertical, or when we are running the digital content vertical, or when we are running like a branding vertical, we still need to basically like to put a lot of like a domain knowledge into the model, and then to guide the model to learn like which direction is right place to run. And then one of the reasons is, as I mentioned, because we didn't fully have that flywheel like running for a more like a more generative way. We have a flywheel running for each vertical, but we don't have a flywheel running for like all the different kind aspect. And then for me, it's the really exciting thing is like the exploit like a technology we talk about. It can be applied to multiple vertical, right? As well, right? It doesn't have to fit into one vertical. So I'm more excited about like when we are keep improving our capacity, like keep improving our algorithm and then keep improving our engineering, then we are be able to build like a more generative, like a generalized like infrastructure and then the algorithm to achieve like a multi or vertical or multi-modality like approach. And then for me, one of the reasons I choose to become an engineer scientist is like I don't want to do repeatable thing. I don't want to like build a model for each vertical. I just want to build one multi-modality to solve all the problems. So that's my dream, and then that's what excites me.
That's a great segue because I wanted to get to you, Robert, because everyone is more than a title. Now, you obviously oversee all the R&D work at Appier. You know, you focus on the machine learning, the AI, the enhancements, and that's really exciting. But you also are looking at new ways to combine all of this, right? And decision making to create a competitive edge in marketing for your customers. But competition and competitive edge is also part of you as a leader, part of you as a person. How does your own competitive nature influence your approach to how you work at Appier?
Yeah, I think several things. The first important thing is like keep learning, right? So for example, like Appier, we just opened the Coursera for all our employees. We want all our employees to understand the AI inside out, either the predictive AI or generative AI. Even you are a scientist, engineer, sales, like or like an officer than me, we want everyone to know those like a new technology because a lot of the time it's very important to create a culture and then create a culture for people keep like exploring the innovation, keep exploring the new technology, right? So I think that is very important. So we are not only providing the AI to our customer, we even provide AI for our own employee to get the productivity get. For example, we encourage the developer to use the code like AI to write the code. We encourage our HR because we believe that only if we truly believe like the AI will change the industry, then we will be able to bring those like impactful AI or useful AI to our customer. So that's how Appier keep ourselves motivated, keep ourselves prepared for us for the new like AI era.
That's absolutely the best way to stay prepared and understand and be ready for the future of AI in marketing. I have a couple of quick questions for you about exactly that, the future of AI. What's coming next? For example, what trends should marketers be preparing for right now?
You probably see like I use the term agent because that's actually the even more like advanced way to describe the AI. Because in the future, agent will do something very very good, and then the even more exciting future is like an agent will communicate with each other, right? Like I mentioned on the flywheel, if we basically specify predictive AI is an agent, and then the generative AI is an agent, and then human itself is an agent, then these three agents should communicate with each other and then to generate flywheel, right? And then in the future, you should think about like everything right now, it can adopt the AI, they will start to communicate with each other. For example, like a self-driving car, right? Because that's definitely like a very clear, like a demonstration of the AI, right? And then we just talk about the digital marketing or like the content marketing. That's definitely like a very strong with like the AI. The other one is another one is the robot. Think about it this way. If your car, self-driving car is an agent, marketing is an agent, which means like in the future, what you can do is like your self-driving car, you just tell your self-driving car, say, oh, I want to go to like this place, right? For example, I want to go to a national park. And then the car drive by himself, right? And then when it's approaching the lunch time and then happening, there's a restaurant have the promotion or have like a put some advertising, Then the marketing agent will talk with your car, like a driving car agent, say, "Oh, right now you are pacing an area and it's a lunchtime and I have a promotion. Do you want to suggest your car owner to go to that restaurant and also like enjoy the promotion or discount of that restaurant, right?" Then you can do these are two a different purpose agent. They talk with each other and then try to bring the benefit to the customer, which is the car owner, right? Actually, even that future we talk about it probably like 5 years from now or whatever, there will be a lot of agents. They all have their own like specific purpose, but each of them will be able to talk with each other and then commute with each other. And then they will try to optimize the best result for their customer or their owner, right? That's how I think about the future of the AI.
And also, as you said before, if it's so personal and there's this element of recommendation at all times, then these agents are ultimately working together to present a recommendation to the customer that feels natural.
Yeah, that feels natural because, like you say, like even we say like that restaurant has a promotion, and then your car at lunchtime will drive through that restaurant. But if the car knows like my owner doesn't like the Mexican food, even the promotion is the Mexican food, it's like your car agent will reject the marketing agent, say, "Oh no, I'm not going to for that because I know my car owner doesn't like the Mexican food." So that still requires you to understand like your customer and then be able to plan the best strategy or best you can call it strategy, journey, or plan or whatever, but best for the human.
That's a very exciting future. And I can see where you have your role in that, in shaping that, because ultimately it comes back to bringing together all the types and flavors of AI, open as well as closed and proprietary, to make that rich experience even richer for the customer. So I thank you for that, Robert. It has been really interesting speaking with you. A lot to learn there, a lot to unpack. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And of course, if you're tuning into In the Groove on YouTube, well, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. It will allow you to stay up to date with the series. And not only that, enjoy the pure gold of knowledge and insights our guests bring to every episode.